Hello there, welcome to Bear Fitness. I'm your host, Laura Williamson. I am a personal trainer, Pilates instructor, and health coach extraordinary. It's so good to see you today. Welcome back, and if this is your first time with me, welcome. It's good to see you, and hopefully I see you again. So let's get right into it. What are we talking about today? We are talking about Pilates. Yep, Pilates. Who hasn't heard about Pilates at this point? Unless you're living under a rock, maybe. But at any rate, I'm going to tell you all about it today. But this is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to mix it up again, and I'm going to reboot an old show, an old interview that I did some years ago with a friend of mine, Michael Rooks, who is actually in Washington, D.C. He has a couple of Pilates studios out that way, but he's absolutely amazing. And I also just want to talk about Pilates a little bit, what it is, what it does, why it's so important, what's the big deal. And if you know about Pilates, are you a pro? Are you a novice? Like, you know, what's your thing? Like, let's go with that. And how long have you been practicing if you have been doing Pilates? And or maybe you've been thinking about it, but you kind of been putting it off, or you weren't quite sure it was for you and what to do, and all the thoughts, they're all in your head. So I'm hoping today that I will be able to convince you to help you make a decision if you haven't tried it yet. And I'm hoping to give you a little bit of information if you've been doing it, but you just don't know that much about it except for what you physically do when you go to class or when you go see your instructor, whether it's one-on-one, you're with a group of people, or so on. So what I'll also ask you is, how long have you been practicing? How long have you been thinking about it? And again, how can I help you move forward with whatever it is that you're doing right now? So this interview that I did with Michael Rooks several years ago, Michael was one of the instructors who actually certified me. As my training is classical, and I'm sure you never even thought about this, because why would you? You really don't need to. But as instructors, we understand that there are different instructors that are certified by different people in different places and in different ways. You know, you have a classical training style, you have a modern training style. And admittedly, like I said, I'm classically trained. So what does that mean? That basically means that I've been trained by the people who were trained by Joseph Pilates himself and by designated apprentices or instructors of his. That's what that means. And anyone and everyone else, if you do the research, not that, again, you need to do that, because why would you? You're thinking, I just want to get my workout in, I want to feel good, or whatever the goals happen to be for you. But again, it's just more or less today is just to give you an understanding of some of what Joseph Pilates, what his intentions were, and what he was trying to accomplish by creating this absolutely amazing system for your body. Now, originally, Pilates, or Joseph Pilates, did not want Pilates to be named after him. He called it controlology, to be exact, or the art of controlology. And again, I'm not a historian. I'm not the best person to talk about the history on these things. I'm a student or an apprentice. Even though I am an instructor, I am always an apprentice. If you come see me, you will be my apprentice, because the goal is to teach you, to educate you on how to move. As simple as that. I mean, you could be my client, but I still consider you an apprentice. So I am teaching, I am training you to move. And all that being said, anyone can do Pilates. It's not just for women. It's also for men. There isn't an age limit on it. You know, more or less, if your feet can go up, if you can reach and get into the equipment, if you can move some things around, then it's all for you. But just so you know, it's not only an equipment-based discipline. You also work without equipment. You can do the mat work. And I understand that sometimes people aren't as enthused by the mat because the mat technically is harder. And if you say to me right now, or you're sitting in your living room, wherever you are, and you think, oh, the mat is easy, come see me, please. Because, you know, we look at the small to look at the big, to improve the big, to make the big better, to make you feel more secure and efficient in the larger movements. And today, even though I'm going to be talking a little bit about Pilates, you know, I like to attach a workout to these little conversations that we have. So I'm going to do a little bit of Pilates. I've done one other Pilates episode, and I just did a basic mat, but I'm going to do an even more basic mat, but I'm going to play with a magic circle today. And as I'm talking about this, I brought a book with me today, and it is called Pilates Return to Life Through Controlology. So I was just talking about that. All right. So this might be a good one. This is a revised edition. And if you take a look at it, it has all the exercises from a basic mat. All right. Without all the modernizations and things like that. And so it's a good book. It's an easy read. I mean, look, it doesn't even have that many pages, but it might be fun to just take a look at and maybe try one or two of the exercises if you feel so inclined. But I think it's a worthwhile book. I mean, there are other books too. There are a lot of books, but this is an easy one in my opinion. And yeah, I think it's worth it just taking a glance at it. So the art of controlology, basically, if you are looking at that book, and let me just read it to you, this one quote or right out of the book is, controlology, it is the ideal system to transform the body into a perfect instrument of the will. It is kinesiology. Oh, did you see that? That's an awful word. Kinesiologically proper. Kinesiology, right? Wow, that was a hard one. Okay, but keep going. Physiologically sound, psychologically correct. And that is found in that book. You don't have to say that word out loud like I did. You could just move on. But anyway, the principles of Pilates, actually, especially when we are training or when I'm training people, his 6 principles are breathing, which are important, centering, your concentration, the control of the movement, your flow, how well you move, how fluid you are, and precision. So we don't usually do high repetitions of a lot of things. We usually like to focus on a handful and make them as precise as possible. Make them the best ones you can do, and then we come back later, which is a little different from personal training because, you know, I do that too. You know, usually we'll do multiple sets and high reps or multiple reps, depending again on what your goals are. And basically, it's a little bit of a change. So all that being said, I want you to check out my interview with Michael Rooks, what he has to say. He was very, very close to Romana Kryzanowska. And, you know, and then tell me what you think. And then I want you to come back with me and let's do a little Pilates, a little more Pilates mat. And then I'm also going to use the magic circle, if you can see it sitting there behind me. It's going to be a little entertaining. And you can also order a magic circle on Amazon. So come back with me. And oh, you know what? One other thing I just thought of why Pilates is so great, aside from the fact that, you know, it just makes you feel good and you feel taller. It's also great for rehabbing, for prehabbing, for any injuries that you have. And as you guys know, I'm always talking about it, but back, and then I've had some knee stuff. It's great for flexibility, improving mobility. So if you're tight, if you're stiff, if you want to lean out, again, if you just want to feel better in your skin, Pilates is for you. And again, anyone can do it, most anyone. And the age, there's an age range. There's no limitation on age either, okay? So come back with me. Let's give it a try and check out the interview with Mike Rooks, all right? And I'll see you back here. We're going to work out a little bit. Hi, welcome back. It's Laura, and we're here with Michael Rooks from Washington, D.C. He has graced us with his presence, and he's going to talk to us about Pilates and then some. So welcome again, Michael. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, totally. So what I'm thinking is, tell the world, tell us about you, Michael. Tell us where you teach, what you do, why you do what you do. Just start from the beginning.
Okay, well, in the beginning, there was no light.
I like it. Okay.
And then, well, actually, I used to be, I had a very high-stress job. I had injured myself. I was 100 pounds overweight, really bad shape, hadn't exercised like 10 years. They wanted me to have back surgery. Sounded like a bad idea to me, cutting open the back. So I looked at all kinds of options, what to do, where to go. And my wife at the time, who is now my ex-wife because I got better at Pilates than her, but she kept saying, try this Pilates stuff, try this Pilates stuff. And this is like 22, 23 years ago, so in the late 80s. And so finally I agreed to go and try it, and it was great. It fixed my back problem. I lost the 100 pounds. I still occasionally have a creaky back. And it was great. It helped me with my stress in my life. It gave me a healthy lifestyle. And then there came a point when I was tired of that high-stress job, and I decided, okay, what can I do that would be good? And again, I got a suggestion, well, you're pretty good at this Pilates stuff. It helped you. Why don't you do it? So then I went deeply into the study of it, and that's where I ended up. That's how I ended up becoming a Pilates instructor. And that's where it all began.
Okay, now, I know you as the son of Romana.
Not literally the son of Romana.
Not literally, but here's the scenario. The way we see it, Michael. But we understand that you spend a lot of time with Romana, and I know who Romana is, but can I ask you to please explain who Romana is to Pilates, the world of Pilates, and for those who are not familiar?
Certainly. So Romana is considered one of the prime protege of Joe Pilates, the man who invented this sort of exercise system, and one of the few people that actually developed in the early stages a concept of health through movement of the body. Not just exercise, but a concept of making you healthy, and it's creating a fitness for life. Anyway, she worked with him for over 40 years, and then she started working with other people to spread the word on. And she was, in fact, the first person that I took a Pilates lesson with at all.
Okay.
So I was very blessed. She had all the knowledge that Joe passed on to her, and then she started passing on to other people. And for whatever reason it was, she and I clicked. I kept going there for just regular lessons as a client for many years. And then when I decided to make the transition, I started studying with her pretty much exclusively. So basically, Joe passed it on to her, she passed it on to me, I pass it on to who I can. And she also taught a lot of other people too, like she started certification programs and stuff like that. So she is sort of the big guru of Pilates, if that helps people understand the perspective of where that comes from.
Now, give us more definition about Joseph Pilates. I mean, not that you knew him personally, but she did.
No, I've heard lots of stories from her.
She did, but what can you tell us, for those of us who didn't meet him? For us, he's the legend.
For me, he's a legend, too.
I mean, because you're so close with Romana, and it's just a rare treat to actually encounter her and talk to her, because she's a well of knowledge as it stands. But what can you tell us about Joseph Pilates? And he created something that still lives on, even though he's not with us any longer. But what can you share with us that, people, that was important and that you could share with people, that people can also have a better understanding of Pilates and what it means and what it represents?
Okay. Well, Pilates is the man. The system of exercise, he never called it Pilates. That happened later on after he was dead. He called it contrology. Basically, take control of your body. It's kind of how we could think of that. And I didn't know him personally. I only know him through his legend as well, and through the personal stories of Romana. Basically, he was a genius of the body. He invented the system. He invented apparatus to help teach his system to people. And a lot of the advances that he talks about and taught are now just becoming like mainstream things of exercise science and what people want to do, hence the popularity of Pilates currently.
Yes, yes.
The boom
Thus
in the
all the
fitness industry with it,
certifications and so on and so forth, yes. All right. So where are you located right now? Where did you do your training? Where did you, because I know that you go to Texas, you go to New York. And
professionally, I have 2 studios in the Washington, D.C. area.
Yes.
I have an equipment company that makes Pilates apparatuses in near Fort Worth in Arlington, Texas.
Okay.
That's located there because when Romana retired, she used to be in New York.
Right.
She moved to Arlington, Texas to be with her son and family.
Right.
So I relocated there, and then we chose that to start the equipment company because she kind of set us, me and my business partner in that, she kind of set us off on that quest.
Yes.
To help carry on the legacy that Joe handed down to her. She wanted that taken care of in some way. So she kind of tried to set up her life so that could continue.
Yes.
So I'm working out of both those places.
Okay.
I travel all over the place.
Right.
Most of my certification when I was actually training and studying with Romana,
Yes.
that was done in New York City.
Okay.
Because she was still, that's where she still lived at the time.
Okay.
And that was the early 90s.
Right.
That I did that.
And so, but do I understand this correctly? You were commuting from Washington, D.C. to New York
To
at
New
the
York,
time?
yes.
Okay.
So I had my great high-paying job that was killing me.
Right.
And I decided I wanted to change careers, but I needed to get trained in Pilates, and I was going to only do it with the best, Romana.
Exactly.
So I would get on a train. So it's nice you have the high-speed train
Yes.
from Washington to New York to Boston. So
Yes.
very easy to do. So I would get on, I'd work all day, I'd get on a train, I'd sleep on the train, I'd go to New York, I'd get up, I'd spend the day there studying and working, I'd get back on a train, I'd go back home, I'd start working again. So basically I slept on the train for 5 years while I went back and forth studying.
Okay.
It didn't take 5 years to get fully certified, but
Yes.
I kept working with Romana and traveling around with her and learning as much as I could, as often as I could. And then I started my studios, and I would still travel to New York to see Romana.
Right.
And then I started working in her organization, training other people.
Yes.
I think it was 2003, I became like a level 2 instructor with
is
her
how we met.
organization. Which is how we met.
Which is how we met.
So I became one of 10 people responsible for training other people in the world.
Right.
When Romana retired, shortly thereafter, I moved on to doing the equipment company, so I no longer do that anymore. Now I just concentrate on my studios and my equipment company,
Yes.
which is Pilates Heritage.
Yes. Okay.
And basically the mission of that is to carry on the heritage that Romana handed down to us. We started with the equipment. We're now doing seminars for professional Pilates teachers. Because one of the most important things people should realize about Pilates is it's not something that you learn completely from a book or a video or just, it's something that has to be experienced, and there's an art portion to it. Joseph Pilates, he called it contrology, the art and science of exercise. And the art part comes from your instructor.
Okay.
Having an eye, giving you little corrections, getting you to do perfect exercise. Joe had a saying that one perfect sit-up is worth 1,000 sloppy sit-ups. So you could do 1,000 bad ones, and you're not going to get the results that you're going to get from one perfect one.
Right.
And the goal of Pilates is not that you have to be perfect,
Yes.
but you are working towards that, and you're building a practice that gives you a fitness for life. So that the little mat workout that you did is like a sample of that.
Right.
That you do that at home on your own as part of your practice. You go see an instructor that helps refine that.
Oh, perfect.
And pushes you on. Hopefully the instructor you see also is in a studio that has the apparatus that Joe
Yes.
invented, because that is designed to help you learn how to do it properly.
Well, what would you recommend for someone who says, well, now's a little challenging for me to spend the extra money on a class? Because a lot of people will take the mat classes.
That's true.
And my understanding is the mat is usually the most challenging
It is actually the most
to
challenging.
do. So for someone who's at home and they're looking at this and they think, okay, well, maybe I can do a mat at home, and then you have the rare person, actually not even rare, you have that person every once in a while that says, oh, but this is easy. This isn't, but they don't have an instructor, but they say, oh, this is so easy, I can do this, I'll just do this. What would you recommend for maybe that person who maybe says, A, I don't have the money right now, B, I'll just take a mat class, which can be challenging because when there are multiple people, you don't get that one-on-one. Where should they? Where would they start? What can they do?
Well, it is true, it is not cheap to do.
Right.
And it's a commitment. But also, I would say you will spend how much a week on a Starbucks coffee?
Right.
You would go to a doctor and spend $900 to have something fixed.
Right, exactly.
Or you can spend
on fast food.
Fast food. Well, that's very healthy for you.
Yeah.
Or you can spend on a lifestyle choice of doing a fitness that saves you money at the doctor. I mean, I didn't have to spend $10,000 to get my back surgery on my back.
I understand.
But still, that is a big consideration. Usually what we recommend at my studio is that you take private class, one-on-one, 4 or 5 of them. We offer an introductory package that allows that to happen. It's still not cheap, but it's not as normal as the regular package. That gives you some insight on how to practice your Pilates, and starts teaching you some of the mat work and gets you on the apparatus so you can feel what it should feel like. Then you take that on your own and do it some on your own.
Okay.
And then keep revisiting with your mentor, your instructor, or whomever.
Right.
The thing about Pilates is it's structured as kind of what I call a verbal or historic kind of learning, like they used to do. You tell the stories, and the stories would go down.
Right.
There is no manual you read.
Yes.
So you need that feedback to get that portion of it and help. So that's how I would recommend people proceed.
Right. Okay. So my question to you is, with your equipment, your new equipment, Pilates Heritage. Now, why do you call it Pilates Heritage? Let's start there.
Okay.
And then, can you give us a little insight? Why Pilates Heritage? What does that mean? How can that help me? How will it get rid of my love handles? Will it help me to be?
What does that mean to you?
Yeah. Will I lose the weight? Will I get toned? Will I get, for those who aren't sure, well, if I do Pilates, is this going to really get me the body that I want? And how can Pilates Heritage help me? What can we do?
Well, I don't know if we can give you the body you want, but we can give you the body you should have.
Okay.
That's something that's very different about Pilates. It makes you healthy. And granted, that means you do get rid of love handles, you do lose weight, but it's not about sculpting you so you look like someone else, or making you so you don't fit how your body should be on you.
So it's not about the jeans, about me getting into...
Oh, no, it's still about the fashion.
Oh, it's still, okay, well, because the jeans, they're important,
Well, exactly.
Okay.
But the approach is different.
Okay, I understand. All right, okay.
Now, as far as what Pilates Heritage means, because our focus, and this is how it helps everybody else out there, is our focus is on the professional Pilates instructor.
Okay.
Bringing the heritage of Joe Pilates, because what Joe Pilates did and claims is absolutely true. It changes your body, it builds a healthy way of life, it tones you, it shapes you. It does all that if it's done properly. But if it's not done properly and you don't have the proper guidance and learn how to do that, it doesn't do you any good.
Okay.
You can go and pound on a piano all you want, you won't play music till somebody actually starts showing you how to play music. Very similar. So our focus is on the professional instructor with Pilates Heritage, bringing that knowledge that Romana has passed down, that she promised Joe she would pass down to people like you, so you can take it to people, and then people can benefit from it. Of course, they're welcome to come to my studio and take lessons too, of course, and get it there.
Oh, okay, so what you're saying to me is, if I had my heart set on a reformer, I can't buy it and put it in the middle of my living room Am I? I mean,
that's not our focus, really. We are trying to.
I mean, I can't put it right in the middle of my living room, and so that way I can
put pillows on it and make it all
right,
nice.
and I can push it to the corner, and then make it look like a little day bed, and then.
But if you want it to be a Pilates heritage reformer, that's not available right now.
Oh, okay.
So our focus right now is going to the professional, getting it out there so people can experience it, so it can help the professional pass on the word of Joe.
Okay.
And the focus of our equipment with Pilates Heritage is bringing back the functionality that Joe originally designed in it.
Okay.
So it does what Joe wanted it to do.
Okay. And so functionality, this is what we're talking about. All right. So we definitely want to focus on functionality. When you say functionality, are we talking about everyday life? Are we talking about what type of functionality?
Well, for the equipment,
well,
we're
what
talking
about the
about so your body functions properly, so it does what it's supposed to do.
Okay.
And nobody's body is supposed to be overweight, flabby, not looking good. You should be able to, as Joe says, and as Romana has always told us, you should be able to carry yourself through life with grace, poise, and dignity in every situation. Okay. So if you're doing that, you're using your muscles. And if you're using your muscles, they're getting toned. Okay. And everything is working in balance. Okay. You have as much strength as you have stretch.
Okay.
Sometimes people put too much emphasis on strength. Sometimes they put too much emphasis on stretch.
Okay.
And that might be because they're in balance and they need to do that. But the idea is to work so everything functions in balance.
Okay.
The equipment that we design is designed to give that experience and give the clues people need to figure that out. As instructors, that's what we try and do when we are instructing them.
Okay. So I tell you what, I think it's interesting, and I think we need to talk about it a little more. So I think what we'll do is we'll go to a break, and then you can, once again, we're going to talk about the love handles again. We're going to talk about it a little more. Because again, these love handles, they're important, and then sometimes people have extra. So let's talk a little more about this. Let's talk about your equipment, how your equipment can be used to help assist in people being a little more functional and just having better lives and just being happy overall. So, you know what? Come back with us. We'll be here. And we're gonna talk about these things just a little bit more, okay? So we'll see you soon, and we'll be right here waiting for you, okay? All right. See you then.
We need to show our kids they can be warriors. We don't need meth.
We need to spend more time with our families. We don't need meth.
We need to inspire them to be strong. We don't need meth. Okay, guys, let's go.
Let's work together to keep our kids away from meth. Learn more at methresources.gov.
All right, hey, welcome back. It's good to see you again. All right, I'm still here with Michael. We're going to chit-chat a little more, but what I'm hoping I can do is to convince Michael to help us out with a few of the exercises that I was doing earlier, how to get them right. So for those of you who are at home and still say, oh, but I don't have the money yet, at least maybe we can correct you just a little bit and help you out a little bit until you can maybe invest in maybe a few lessons so that you can go back home and then try some of these things on your own. So Michael, let me ask you a question. I noticed myself, me personally, I'm talking about me and only me, one of my biggest issues when I started Pilates was the powerhouse, was the engaging and what I should be engaging, and I found there was a lot of pressing my lower back into the floor, not pressing it into the floor, and the ribs were out, and it took me the longest time to get that and understand that physically, mentally, and there was a disconnect. I didn't get it, I didn't understand it, and even to this day, that doesn't still guarantee that I still get it. But I like to think that I do work deeper because I feel my workouts a little differently. What would you recommend? I mean, what are we doing wrong?
You're definitely working deeper than the first time I saw you.
I mean, what are we doing wrong? Like, we want to get it right.
Well, of course, but you have to also remember that it's not just, you're spending 25 minutes trying to build good habits, and then you go out in the world and you spend the rest of your day doing bad habits over half the time.
Right.
One of the things, and part of the exercises, the mission that Joe and what he did when he came up with these exercises are to put those natural movements back into your body. So you don't see you don't see the sleek jungle cat not being healthy, do you? Like in the wild, like in general, they're how they should be.
Yeah.
Why? Because they do everything they're supposed to be. Joe spent a lot of time looking at animals and old ways they used to train like Greek Olympians and those things to help come up with some of his ideas. And you know, you see the jungle cat walking around, and you can just like see every muscle kind of.
Right.
Oh, they're using every
beautiful.
single
This is
muscle.
true. It's a beautiful
Oh, that
animal.
rib's getting pulled
Very
in, that
beautiful
leg is
animal.
moving.
Right.
Like it's really beautiful. Like
Right.
the idea is to put that in to us too. So if we're doing that, then in your daily life you're also doing Pilates. You're controlling your body. You're not letting your ribs pop out. You're not letting all these things happen. And sure, it's not going to happen overnight.
No.
I mean, it requires concentration, and the biggest thing, and what Joe always and Romana always say, is the will. You have to just make yourself do it. And do it right as best you can.
Well, let me ask you a question, and this is a very important question. Tell us, what is your favorite exercise? What's the one that you're like,
Oh,
I
wow.
love giving this one to people because this is the one. This is the one that I feel
Well,
like.
my most favorite one is actually on an apparatus called the Reformer, but we don't have one of those here, so I would go with the teaser. Because the
no.
meaning of
That's
life
the hardest one.
is revealed through the teaser.
Oh my gosh, but the teaser is hard.
I know the teaser is hard.
It's very hard.
Let's do it, why not?
What-
And then they can practice at home. Now, you can do it at home either against a wall to start or with a helper. I'm going to be your helper.
You gonna be my helper?
I'll be your helper.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna do a little teasing. Okay. Okay. Let's see how this goes. All
Okay,
right,
so
where
go ahead
should
and
I
be
start?
seated. Just be seated, facing me.
Okay.
Right. You're going to lie back just like you normally would. You're going to bring your knees into your chest.
Okay.
And you're going to let me have your feet. And I'm going to take your feet right here, about a 45-degree angle.
Okay.
Approximately. It's different for every person depending on their body, but that's a good start. Now, if you don't have somebody to help you, do it on a wall.
Okay.
All right? So you're going to reach to the sky. And remember the exercise of the roll-up. This is kind of like the roll-up, only it's done in the middle of the air, basically.
Okay.
So you're going to curl into yourself. You're going to reach for me. That's it. Keep curling, reaching for my shoulders. Now hold my wrists. Now I want you to use your stomach, not your arms,
Okay.
and pull me back down. Just pull me down.
I can't.
Pull. Come on, pull. Use your stomach and I'll let you do it.
I'm trying.
Okay, now. All the way down and reach back. Now, when you went down,
Yes.
you went off to that
left.
side. So you're using that side more than the other side.
Okay.
So this is another reason why it's important to every now and then get input from an instructor or somebody.
Right.
Because that's a habit.
Okay.
All habits are bad.
Okay.
There's no such thing as a good habit. So you're going to do it better this time, right? Curl into yourself. Reach, 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 reach. Now, evenly pull me down. Nope, so you already went with that side.
Really? Okay.
Yep, pull me down. Use this side more. Use the other side more. Feel the difference?
yeah.
And down you go. Bend your knees in. Now, you're really strong now. You're going to do it without me. You don't need my help. So curl into yourself.
Okay.
And up you come. Reach. Find your balance. Find your balance. Reach to the sky. Roll yourself back down. Everything down. Legs, arms, everything. She is a trained professional. Do not try this at home. And up you come. Reach to the toes. Reach to the sky. And everything unfolds.
Oops.
Evenly.
All right.
Okay, so I would say that's one of my favorite exercises in Pilates. And it is because it requires balance, it requires control, it requires use of all the muscle groups all at the same time. So it's kind of a very ultimate sort of demonstration of what Pilates can do for you.
Okay. All right. So I'm thinking, if I were our viewer, I might think to myself, wow, that's really hard.
is really hard.
That's really complicated. How am I supposed to do that? Okay, I tried on a wall, but it was still hard for me. So
So it can be
Maybe-
broken down even further.
maybe I need to call Michael. And I need to talk to Michael, and maybe Michael can tell me where I should go and what I should do. Is it okay to do that?
Well, sure. You can go to like the website or something and like send a message. I travel a lot, so I probably won't answer the phone, but you know, of course they can call and inquire.
Well, let's have a seat back
Okay.
over here and continue to discuss a little bit. So, Now, another thing, which a lot of people don't realize, is we do Pilates without our shoes on, for the most part. Is there a reason why we need to have our shoes off? Because, you know, people like me, sometimes my feet are cold. You know,
can wear
I
socks.
have cold extremities. The little toesy socks?
Sure, or just regular socks, it doesn't matter.
But why don't we use shoes? Why can't we wear the
Well,
shoes?
because the extra weight on your feet. Part of what you do in Pilates is, and 80% of it is using your own body to balance yourself.
Right, okay.
So if you put 3 pounds sneakers
weight.
on your feet, you're having to lift 3 pounds of sneakers, which if you're trying to like run and build muscle or something, that you're lifting 3 pounds, that's helpful for that. But as far as Pilates, it makes it difficult to find the proper balance and use everything in the correct way.
Okay. So it's okay for me to do my workout without shoes and
You should.
And now, what about people who have injuries? Is this a good idea for them? I mean, and overall, if I'm hurt, if I'm broken in any way, shape, or form, I mean, who would you recommend Pilates to? I
Pilates
mean,
is good for, if you've got a spine, you can do Pilates.
Is there anyone I wouldn't recommend it to?
Well, for example, if you are just newly pregnant and you haven't done Pilates before, should not start, but you really shouldn't start any exercise regime newly pregnant.
Yeah.
You are just injured. Most injuries need rest, etc. So you don't want to start right away. But if you have been doing Pilates and something happens to you, sprain your ankle, break your wrist, lose your arm,
Yes.
whatever, you can
You
still
mean if I
do
lose a limb? Or,
yeah, oh yeah.
Or
we have several
We can work
paraplegics
around- okay, we
and
can-
things in our studio, and they do
Yeah.
Pilates. Yeah.
Wow, I wish we could, I know some amazing stories. I wish we could talk about that a little more. But I think going forward, I'm glad that they got to meet you. So I think going forward, definitely if you want to get in touch with Michael, please contact him. Go online, check out some of his equipment. And, you know, I thank you so much for joining us today. This was an
Well, thank you.
absolute delight.